at 7:14 p.m. Trustee Daly is out of the room, conversing with the chief. He'll be back shortly, but we're going to go ahead and get started. If I can have a roll call, please.
Mayor Linda Soto.
Still here.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Here.
Georgianne Duberstein. Here. Barrett.
Present.
Hein.
Here.
Daly stepped out. George Duberstein.
Here.
And a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
So second.
Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Hein.
Aye.
And George Duberstein.
Aye.
And then with one motion, we can approve the 3 sets of minutes from, 2 of which are from previous Public Works Standing Committee meetings and 1 from our previous Committee of the Whole meeting, unless anybody would like one removed.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Hein.
Aye.
And George Duberstein.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, we're going to start up with Public Works. Trustee George Duberstein.
Thank you, Mayor. Like Trustee Terry, I'm in the unique, we're both in the unique position as board members that there's somebody on staff who reports on that particular area of interest. So generally speaking, there may not be a lot of interest or things to discuss on the committee as a whole. But that being said, I do have a number of items to bring up. First of all, something unrelated at all, but maybe something of interest that everybody should be aware of. I have in my official email account gotten quite a few emails from people wishing job interviews, internships, and then they have an attachment, which is their CV, which I haven't opened. I just assume they're scans. Has anybody else received such? I know Jerry has, but is anybody else?
I got one, but that was an A.
I get them periodically. A lot of them are scams. I find that if it's a legit interest, there's usually a resume and just a professional cover note on the initial email itself. The less that's said, and they're trying to encourage you to open an attachment, beware. And if we're not looking for, we don't have a posting for a job, don't feel bad about ignoring it. If they want it, they will call or follow up.
Okay. In the public works area, you all have in your packet something that Jeff left, so I won't regurgitate all of that, but for the purpose of the people who may be watching, just a couple of highlights. One is we have installed one of the new village streetlights, and I encourage residents to look up because apparently some residents didn't know we have done that. These are new streetlights with less well, they're going to be more cost effective, let's leave it at that. And they have better lighting capability. The tree removal for the ash borer problem is going well, and we're in, I guess, the 3rd year of that. And we now have new fountains installed at 5 of the lakes, including one right out here by the village hall, which also has a light on it so that you can see it at night. So I encourage you to look at that. So we have all new fountains, we have the street lights and the tree removal. Also, Jeff and his crew have been diligently working on the path around Cranberry Lake, putting in drainage pipes as well as new chips. So hopefully that'll be completed shortly. And that's all I'll leave you with on your public works areas. Jeff and I and Jerry last week took a tour with Terry Braun on all of our water system. And we found a number of, first of all, it was very interesting and informative, but we found a number of discrepancies. And we subsequently had a meeting with Terry and one of his personnel to work out some of the discrepancies, not major, but there were some things that we found as we went around. And
When you say discrepancies, what exactly do you mean?
well, there wasn't. They have a daily inspection, for example, of each of the well houses. And in one well house, well house 1, I guess, they had a book that cataloged some of the things that they did every day that they inspected, but in the other well house, they did not.
So they weren't maintaining the log?
No, they weren't. So we asked them to come up with a new SOP and a daily inspection list. And actually, Terry has just sent us that by email, so Jerry and I are going to look at it and make any comments as appropriate.
Okay, good, yeah, because they should be filling out that log.
Speaking of which, when we went to Robinson Open House for the new office, they showed us a new machine they have which exercises the valves in the water system. And I won't go into a lot of detail except that it will identify problems in the water system. And they have offered to give us a demonstration of that equipment for our benefit. So I might want to recommend it. Do we want to do it during the day or in the evening sometime? What's your preference?
I would think it could be done during the day with you and Jeff, just simply report on it. How do the trustees feel? Is there anybody that would want to be involved with that? We can certainly send you, but I don't think it necessarily has to be in the evening. I would prefer daytime.
Yeah,
If I'm
okay.
available, I've always had a vested interest in public works. It's always good because I saw the equipment, it's great stuff. Just to see how it actually operates and learn something from it, that'd be great. Provided that my schedule allows it. I mean, if you want to publish it to the board, that'd be great. If we can make it, fine. But let's not have Robinson rearrange their whole entire schedule just to bring us in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, we'll see what's amenable for them, and we'll set up a time.
Because it's going to be a project for them to do that. They'll be paying people overtime, stuff like that, to do it in the evening after their regular day. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we
let's
should-
not make them incur any more costs if we don't have to.
Okay, I'll set that up with them in the next couple of weeks and let everybody know if they are available, fine, if not. The Public Works Supervisor, I, and maybe Jerry, and anyone else can look at it.
Yeah, if I'm in the office and not out at one of these many meetings, at one of the other government agencies, I would love to see it myself, so.
One of the major projects I'm working on is this, we originally called it a capital improvement fund, but actually it's a replacement fund for water system components. And I've sent an outline of a presentation which has a whole bunch of slides to it. But I need some input from finance and also from Terry Grom. I've gotten stuff from Kelly already, and I'm waiting for the input from Terry Grom. And when I get to all of that, then it'll take some time to work it all out. I hope to be able to prepare it and present it to the board in July, but chances are, knowing how things happen, it'll probably be August by the time we get, because there's going to be a lot of work involved with trying to sort all this stuff out and then make it presentable so that everybody can can read it or deal with it. Let's see. And speaking of capital improvements, there are two areas that we should be looking at. One is for the water system, and the only capital improvement I can think of offhand, as opposed to a replacement, is a new well house for the well we have in the public works. Is there any other addition to the water system that we should be looking at down the road? Anybody?
Well, it would be extending our water and sewer to other areas that it doesn't reach. You can, either wait for development and do it then, or you can put it in to be ready for development. So that makes you more competitive, obviously.
Right. All right, so that's another thing we'll be looking at, but I want to get this replacement course thing done first.
Yeah.
And from a general standpoint, I think we should also be looking at a capital improvement fund for the village as a whole. So in that regard, I open up to the board any suggestions we have that we should be looking at for additions to the village, whatever.
The Finance Committee does has set up a capital.
I know they have one, but I'm looking at what are the things that we should be looking at as a possibility for something that we would want to save some money
Are
to.
you saying to add or to replace?
No, what I'm saying, for capital improvement, I'm saying something addition to what we already have. Replacement, of course, we also need to provide for as well, but that's a separate issue. I'm looking at capital improvements, which I would define as additions to something we do not have at the present time. Any suggestions?
Well, obviously there's, I guess there's wish list items as far as, and are we talking short-term and long-term? For short-term, I'm hesitant to spit anything out right now until we know what's going on with Springfield
Well,
or
yeah.
future income. So, there's wish list items that we have. But I understand where you're going. I think that's almost a standalone topic for a committee of the whole meeting. You could spend the whole committee
Oh,
of the
yeah,
whole meeting
right,
talking
right.
about just that. And
Well,
I think
I'm just throwing it out
Yeah.
for people to think about it,
Yeah.
and as not something we can deal with right
No,
now.
and that does come under finance too,
Right.
because I think finance has had that. Jerry's, unfortunately not in the room right now, but I know that's on the to-do list, so.
Well, he's my second, if you will, in public works, so.
Yeah, so maybe
we
you
can
two
work
can
that.
talk a little bit more about it. And then maybe we can plan, I would certainly hope I know what Springfield's doing, summer, or end of summer.
I think they know what they're doing.
Services will stop shortly in July if they don't figure it out, so.
Let's say that Router and I can't speak English. They've been going at that until.
It's pretty dire. All right, can we move on then? to
Yes.
wetlands? All right,
That's all I have.
wetland, open space and woodlands trustee George Anderson.
Okay. The board will recall, hopefully, that they approved a 5-year plan for clearing invasive species from various open areas around the village, and money for those projects is in this year's budget. And as we progress, I will be making reports on those areas. Some were moved into outlying years due to the costs of it. The area north of the ball field has been cleared of invasive species. Plants have been added to provide screening for the homes on Elm Court. Native Restoration Services has planted 10 native trees and 30 native shrubs at the open space on 120 east of the Deer Point entrance. Shrubs that like wet feet were chosen since that's a low area. This is the first phase in the restoration of this area. Additional shrubs will be planted next year. A flower seed mix will be sown and matted probably next year. Jeff and his team has been working on improving the drainage along the Cranberry Lake path, and new mulch has been laid as the work progresses. I haven't gotten an update whether it's all finished, but they've been working on it. The easements behind the homes on the north side of Tall Oak Drive have been burned. It's a controlled burn it's supposed to be. They didn't burn the house down. Trees and shrubs have been planted, and either sedges or flower mixes have been sowed. And for those of you in the YouTube land, it takes 3 years with native flowers to go from seed to actually flower. The first year, they put down their roots. The second year, they'll have the green part showing, and it's the third year before you'll see the flower. This isn't true in every case, but a lot of them are, so you have to be patient, which is not my strong point, and I've been nagging Native Restoration Services for years, but they've gotten used to it. Conserve Lake County is a nonprofit organization that encourages the use of native plants and the restoration of open spaces. They have a procedure in place to certify homes that support clean water, rich soil, and resilient ecosystems. Discussions have begun to have Hainesville be the first village certified by Conserve Lake County, which would be a really exciting thing. It would really set us apart and hopefully be a good draw for developers that are looking to do the right thing in the right place. And that's all I report for today.
Okay, thank you, Georgina. Community Relations, Trustee Jeff Darrenski.
Well, as I unfortunately had some computer problems, I had to wipe and rebuild my whole computer, which takes a lot of time, and I had some personal things going on, which the mayor is aware of. And so I unfortunately was not able to put the meeting up until Friday, this past Friday, so we haven't gotten any views on it yet. But computer's fine now, so I should be able to get this meeting up quite quickly, and we will see what's going on from there. One of the things I was thinking of, and we had talked about earlier this year, was maybe getting a multi-camera system in here, which would allow us to just activate the system when we start the meetings. And I have to contact billing, because I think you said you saw it in billing, and try to see if we can get them, see who they used and what the cost is, because their village hall is huge. And
that's something for George's list.
but it would also be very expensive, I'm
Yes,
sure.
it would.
And while we're doing that, we should probably look into working on the sound in here.
But it's always good to know the cost.
Yeah, oh, for
You
sure.
never know when an opportunity knocks or when a grant is going to become available, even if it's just for a portion of the cost, can make all the difference. So it's certainly worthwhile investing.
Yeah, for sure.
If we can't do it, in the next year, maybe it's something we can look at doing 3 years out or something.
And that's all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just going to move on to my report. The village has had a lot of challenges, particularly Public Works, in getting a lot of our projects done because we've had so much rain. With that, though, the projects are moving forward and we're getting things done, but it's been very frustrating. You start and it rains, you start and it rains, and as you know, some of these have been severe, and you don't want people with certain equipment out in fields when there's lightning potential and all that. So it has been frustrating, and I thank everybody for their patience. Also, I think we have broken a record this year with mosquito abatement. Because of the temperatures and the winds and everything, we actually, with all our mosquito abatement efforts, which is the larvicides and aerial treatments. We have not had an adult truck spray done yet. And, you know, it's June 23rd, that's unheard of. George from Clark Mosquito dropped in to see me this afternoon because of course Clark Aquatic is who put in our fountains and everything, so he wanted to make sure that we were pleased, and we also talked about the mosquito abatement, and I said, gee, when do you think we'll have our first adult spraying with the truck for mosquitoes? And he said, possibly this weekend, but even maybe not, depending on how the next storms come through. And I don't know what you've experienced, but I was out this past Saturday at a graduation party, and that was the first time I really saw or got annoyed by a mosquito. Nothing awful, but that's really saying something. So it may be the 4th of July before we have our first treatment, so just interesting. Street lights. I've had a lot of positive feedback from residents, but as George said, I was amazed at that same party and get-together I was at. I was talking, people were talking to the street lights about me, and another resident said, we have new street lights? So, and Jeff had the same thing happen, so it's interesting, but very positive feedback about the fountains and the street lights, so we can feel very good about that. The other thing I'll make a brief comment on, and I'm only bringing it up at this meeting because it was brought up at our last board meeting, and I feel I owe an explanation to the public and also to the board. We had a resident on Catherine speak up about a shed foundation. They applied for a permit. The permit was issued. When the inspector went out to view the foundation, they had decided to move it to a location that is not in compliant with our ordinance. And so the inspector asked that it be corrected. I was forwarded a note. I spoke with the homeowner and said I would investigate the situation. They showed up at the board meeting. After reviewing this and looking back, the Lake County Building Department feels very strongly that it should still be moved. There's really no hardship or reason to request a variance. I will let him know tomorrow on the phone and with a letter that I was typing today that he still has the right to go through the formal hearing process, which of course means hearing and letters have to go to the neighbors. Now, the other thing I will share with him, because we don't want to be judgmental, if he wants to move ahead and present his case, he can. But I have cautioned him since day one when I talked to him. We have had recent permits go in very close proximity to him. And at the neighborhood function I was asked, I didn't seek it out, I was asked by 2 different residents about what that is over there in his yard. And their concern was, how would somebody be able to place something there and what was going on? So I do think that there's some residents who would be concerned because they have followed the rules, gone through the process. And in fact, one neighbor turned down a free shed that was offered to them because they didn't like where they would have to put it. And so if somebody else is going to be able to put it where they want just because they decided so. So I will be forwarding that communication to all of you on the board and the resident, and I will let him know what the process is if he does want to pursue a variance.
He had said that NICOR had said that he couldn't put it where he was supposed to put it.
He claims that he called NICOR and they said he couldn't put it there. I asked him for a name of who he talked to at NICOR. He could not give me a name. I called our NICOR district manager and they said they would not tell somebody that. You know, something could have been misunderstood. They asked again if we had a name that was provided of who they talked to or what department. Typically, they would advise residents to come back to our building department would be the answer. because the shed is not going far down where it would disrupt anything with the service, so,
That's what we thought, but
yeah,
yeah, it just adds to the,
yeah. So if there are any questions or comments, let me know, otherwise I will be forwarding that to you tomorrow. I meant to get that out today, but it was quite a hectic day in the village, and I got called over to the CENTCOM meeting. I tried to bow out of it this week, and they were having a problem meeting quorum because other people weren't showing up. So I did go over it, and we quickly did our meeting to keep CENTCOM business running properly as it should. So with that, I'm going to ask at this time if there's any public comment. Any takers on this round? Okay, motion for adjournment.
so
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.